situation for Oxygen. Adro clearing these rocks, looking to take his third. Another problem with Steps of War is these rocks where you would like to take your third and you can be drawn into fighting these Marines. Don't know if I agree with this. That's a lot of Marines with a medevac there. Those mutas are just going to take so much damage from those Marines. Good choice trying to take out this reactor, just trying to deny these Terran add-ons for as long as possible, forcing the Marines out of position. Looks like he might actually get the reactor. Going to be touch and go. No, he's going to be chased off. Thinking about suiciding in to try and take it, but then deciding not. Now he will get the tank. Nice harass once again by Adro. Really making names for himself with his muta harass. It's something he does very effectively. He used it almost to perfection against Red Archon, and he was very, very effective there. And now we are seeing him almost finishing these rocks, still producing mutas, just trying to harass as much as possible. Now, he needs to keep Oxygen in his base. The unfortunate thing about Steps is it's so small that even if you do keep Terran in their base for as long as possible, it doesn't take them long to get to yours. So, it's absolutely crucial that Adro maximizes the amount of time he keeps Oxygen being defensive and building these missile turrets.
Yeah, Adro doing some great work here with muta mobility. Like you said, he's really got to keep Oxygen from pushing out too much or he's just going to get too far behind. Looks like they're pretty even on the income count at the moment, but Adro's going to really need to get his expansions up and running so he can compete with this Terran mech bio army that's going on at the moment.
Yeah, good.
It looks like he's going to have trouble finding a hole to harass with these mutas now with these turrets up everywhere.
Yeah, he has forced Oxygen to spend quite heavily on these turrets, but the thing from Oxygen's point of view is the Zerglings can't get in the front door without a drop or a Nidus, so he can feel pretty comfortable. Now this is a bit of a positioning here right now. Decent number of mutas coming in to try and constantly harass, but we are seeing that push from Oxygen. Will he use the gully or just go straight in the front door? Looking like he's just going to take up the ramp. This is a little bit dangerous because you are positioning yourself on the Zerg creep, but he has a lot of Marines right there. Few banelings coming from Adro, being soaked up by the tank. That's a bit of a crucial loss. Morphing in a bunch more, losing a few Zerglings to that looseness. They're just trying to poke in with those mutas. Stim burning on these Marines, trying to work on this expansion. There is the banelings coming in now to try and work on these Marines. Mutas coming in to try and pick up the stray tanks. Decent micro there from Oxygen, keeping these Marines out of harm's way, out of banelings' way. But now they need to defend against these mutas. These mutas just going to trying to take on these Marines. Brute force taking out the medevacs, and right now Oxygen's going to lose his full force right here, and apart from most of his Zerglings and banelings, Adro still has most of his mutas and did not lose that expansion, so he's come out really ahead. Got to be careful with those medevacs, going to be crucial for stopping these mutas. More mutas on the way for Adro right now, and I would expect to see a transition into Thor for Oxygen. We do see that armory going down. He just got outproduced too many mutas, and he just didn't use his Marines effectively, trying to keep them alive from the banelings, and that is the problem with engaging on creep for Terran with this good creep spread. If he had have engaged below and used scans to force Adro to come to him off creep, that would have gone very, very differently.
Yeah, massive loss there for Oxygen. Has put him quite a bit far behind. He's going to need to get this expansion up and running. Looks like Adro's researched transporting for overlords here, so I would love to see a baneling drop go on.
Yeah, we are seeing Oxygen clear this out, still trying to defend against this muta harass. So many turrets in his base. There's just turrets everywhere. But now Adro's getting to the point where he can start thinking about taking them out. But it's forcing Oxygen to be defensive. Nice little bit of sneaky creep there being dropped by Adro, trying to deny this third base for as long as possible to steal a line from IRC the other day. Talking about Tenacious D, if anyone watched BlizzCon, they were performing their new song Death Star, which is really awesome, and I recommend everyone goes check out that song. But the best comment I heard about the Death Star is the Death Star is actually what happens when Terran gets 3 bases against Zerg. So when Oxygen gets his third base online, I expect him to pull in quite effectively right now. Adro does have a huge amount of banelings right now though, so if he continues to spread this creep, and you did predict it, we are seeing a baneling drop going on. So it's just about whether he's going to go for the production line with all these turrets, or he's just going to drop the banelings on top of the tanks.
Yeah, always good to see a good baneling drop, as Oxygen looks to be doing a bit of dropping of his own. He's sending some Marines up to the top there, seeing what kind of damage he can do. This is going to have to be a really good drop though to break through this Terran turn defense, but Adro has to pull something out to get into this because it looks like Oxygen's third's now up and running, and he's just going to pull right ahead. It looks like he's just lost his medivac too, though, so that's a bit of a slip up there. A medivac full of units just gone
Yeah, that's
down.
a huge loss for Oxygen. Just the control of these Zelnaga towers is working out massively in Adro's favour. He's taking him fourth at the gold, being aggressive, which he needs to be. Does not want to fall behind from Oxygen, who does have that planetary fortress online. I would expect to see a repair going off on that with all these turrets in place. But now we are seeing Adro thinking about making a move towards this base here. Now the Banelings can be used to highly effectiveness against a planetary fortress, especially one weakened this much. I have seen clusters of 20 Banelings smashed in a planetary fortress quite a bit just to get rid of them, especially from Korean Zergs who just want to get rid of those planetary fortresses as much as possible. And since the Ultra list changed, planetaries are hugely problematic to deal with. They were very nice to deal with when Ultra lists had that little bit of extra fancy range that enabled them to take out units from a ridiculous range away and drop SCVs like that, but now they're not quite as good. So interesting that Adro seems to be changing his mind. He was going to attack that expansion, now he's decided that he doesn't. Still have his overlords loaded up, Mutalisk parked at the top, but while this goes on, more production coming in for Oxygen, who now has a cluster of Vikings, Thors, and a decent spread of Marines. Also thrown in a bunch of Marauders to soak up Baneling damage, so there's a really nice balance forced for Oxygen right now. It's just going to come down to how he contains this muta harassment and doesn't get caught out of position with those tanks.
Yeah, Adro getting a bit timid there at the last minute. I actually think he probably could have taken that planetary down. The Terran army was well out of position, but he wasn't ready to know that. As we see some Infestors come online, he's actually researching Neural Parasite as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how he plays that into it. Yeah,
crucial stage right now. Oxygen pushing out, scanning, trying to receive this creep. Adro's Muta's massively out of position. Going to need to drop those Banelings so effectively. These drones are going to be mated across. Now we are seeing Oxygen using that gully. He's being more careful this time. He is on creep, but he's down in the bottom of the gully. Those tanks are protected like that. They're going to have to rely on Mutas to deal with it. Now we're seeing half of Adro's forces being caught a little bit early. He needs to control perfectly right here. Needs to get really good fungals off with those Infestors. Now, he does have the energy for it. We are seeing these Thors trying to position themselves in the front. Stim going off on these Marines as they try to deter those Overlords. He's really paranoid about these drops. Now we're seeing the forces from Adro close. Roaches coming in, trying to work on these Thors. Nice fungal on the nest of Medivacs. Huge numbers for Adro right here. And now Oxygen starting to melt, but these siege tanks on the lower ground kicking in. Now the Baneling drops coming in. Muta's almost down to these Marines. Baneling drops going to start falling from the sky. No, he doesn't unload in time. That's a bit of a loss. Never unloaded those Banelings. That's a huge mistake from Adro. More Banelings coming in. Infestors just attack moves, suiciding to all these Marines. Panicking here coming off from Adro. That execution was terrible. Hitting the panic button of Roaches. Lots of Roaches coming online, but there's so many Marines, so many tanks. Looking like Oxygen is just going to win this from pure execution. A few key mistakes there by Adro. I feel that if he had have used those drops from his Overlords more effectively, he had so many Overlords dying, full of them, but Oxygen was just able to execute properly in this gully, which is the bane of all Zerg players. Siege tanks in that gully is just hugely annoying, and defended against those Mutas really, really well. And Adro, at the key moment, I think that he choked a little there.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that I think that Baneling drop definitely would have been the difference maker. He would have wiped out all those Marines, so not dropping those was just a huge mistake, and I think that might have just cost him the game. So looks like the next one's going to be Scrap Station.
Yep,
We'll see
and
how it
no
goes.
cheese from Oxygen, just played this one straight out, so kudos, and we go to game 2.